opening statement, and then we'll go to your questions.
Ooh, all right, good to see everybody. Hope everybody's staying warm. Well, we know who our opponent is on Tuesday anyway. That's a good start to things. And we're coming back off the Nebraska game. A lot to learn from there. Really proud of our guys. I've used this as a great teaching tool. You always have a game or two in postseason play where you just have to grit it out. It may not be pretty. It may not be the exact energy or way you want to play. Nebraska did have a lot to do with that, but we found a way. And Iowa was special down the stretch. I thought our defense in the second half was very, very good, especially once we got the first half transition where they hurt us a little bit in transition, and then we kind of solved it a little bit on the offensive side. We did a lot of standing around in the first half of that game, but proud of our guys, and now it's on to the next, and we keep just try to keep chopping wood, as we like to say, and get better today, and face a Northwestern team that obviously whooped us in the first half. We can't make too much of the second half. That was a unique experience, but they've made some changes in what they're doing, moving Adish to the point, playing much bigger actually, and inserting Gaines, and Miller Kopp we know is an all-league type guy. They're playing a lot more through Ryan Young with his insertion in the lineup and Nance at the 4. They're posting him a lot, putting him in a lot of isolations. So we'll see multiple defenses, I would imagine, like we did in the first game, man and zone. But again, a team that runs great stuff. They're very well coached, and is playing everybody extremely tough and extremely difficult and fighting really hard. So tomorrow night will not be easy.
Brad, do you think that the win at Penn State has changed the narrative about Nebraska? And do you feel that your performance there was as much to do with them, or did you just play badly?
No, they're good. I mean, I think Fred said it. He felt like they were very close. They just gotten Derek Walker eligible. He adds a nice piece to him. He's so big, strong, and physical. And everybody in the league's known their perimeter guys are very talented, very athletic. They're unique in terms of their size, but they had COVID and they got shut down, and now it's just a matter of them playing and getting back in the groove, and they're doing that. And like you said, it's you have to make threes to beat them, and that team's going to win some games down the stretch. I got no doubt about that.
By the same token, I think we're all writing in our stories, these guys have to play every other day. Ooh, how hard that is. We just asked Coleman, which is harder, practice or games, and he said practice because it's 3 hours and everybody's working. So is there any incentive to go a little bit lighter on the guys when you're facing these teams that don't have to practice?
Yeah, and again, 40 minutes of that is film, and you got another 20, 30 minutes of Fletch, and they're stretching and doing that. So, I mean, our court time with these guys has shrunk a great deal. We're out there, hour and a half, 2 hours, but again, there's that fine line of when you don't have games back to back like they do, and who's to say we won't at some point. You've got to stay sharp, and you do that by competing and practicing, and that's what we're doing. It's the hand we're dealt right now.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, I know you guys haven't had a road game where you've had to, couldn't travel by bus for a while. I mean, the cancellations have had a lot to do with that. Was there any kind of getting back into a rhythm after coming back late from Nebraska and then getting ready for a quick turnaround against Northwestern Tuesday night?
No, we got them up Saturday. We tested I think it was 2:30, 3 a.m. when we got back, because we had to de-ice in Lincoln, and we sat there for a good hour or so. Then we tested. We did our PCR test, so we didn't have to get up early in the morning. Those have to be in by 9 a.m. So we tested out at the airport. But we got up at 1. We watched film, and we stretched and got them loose, and then just did a little shooting workout. So no, they recover quickly. And then, practice yesterday, and today is back to normal.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, just curious, is Northwestern trying to get down here today, or they have to do a show and go tomorrow with the weather?
No, it's my understanding they were leaving early today. That I don't know where it ended up. They were talking about leaving early and practicing in Ubben today. I don't know what that if that came to fruition or not. We're obviously in State Farm right now, but my understanding was that they were going to practice in our facility and try to get out of Evanston much earlier than originally planned.
I saw a note that they're still fairly high in Ken Palm, and they're actually very low in the luck category, whatever that is. But all that to say, does their 11-game losing streak sort of belie them a little bit and their capabilities?
It's an awfully good league. It's hard to win. Winning should be celebrated. It's hard to do. They've got very good players, and it's very easy to win 4 in a row. It's very easy to lose 4 in a row. And I don't know their locker room, but I know anything can happen in this league, and they've got a good basketball team.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Brad, I wanted to follow up on the Big Ten. I think the league just passed the 2017 Big 12 and Ken Palm for like the hardest ever, and it's trailing only the 04 ACC. What makes it different? What makes a challenge day in and day out here?
Damn, I was a part of that league too. Great way to get your coaching career started, huh? It's a combination. I will say this: both leagues have unbelievable coaches. I think when you have coaches who have had tremendous success, that league was so guard oriented that year at Oklahoma State. The guards were phenomenal. But I think it's the 2 years I've been in this league, I would say are there's nothing compared like that. And I mean, this one is this year's crazy. And it's unique from the standpoint that obviously it's COVID and so on. There's extenuating circumstances, but just top to bottom, I think my first 6 games at Oklahoma State in conference play were all against ranked teams, and it seems like every night we turn around, we play a ranked team or a team who has been ranked. And man, that speaks volumes to the commitment of each program and the greatness of the programs and the staffs and the players.
How does that push you guys as a coaching staff? Like, obviously there's a lot of talent on the floor, but there's a lot of talent on the benches too. How does that really keep you guys driving everything forward? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for complacency or anything along those lines.
No, you better not sleep. Every single night you're going to have to scheme, and every single night you're going to have to make adjustments, and whatever those, a lot of times you may have to do it twice. And you're not going to go out there and just run one stagnant offense and expect them to just guard it a certain way. They're going to counter it if you're hurting them, and every coach does that at a very high level. And the players are smart, and if you make mistakes, this is the greatest league I've ever seen. If you make a mistake, the other team's going to capitalize on it. They don't miss shots, they don't miss opportunities, and I've never been a part of anything like that, like this league does. It's unforgiving.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad. After watching the Nebraska game, what was the biggest thing you could take away for your team?
Rebounding, chasing balls, finishing plays. We've got to finish plays with a rebound. And I thought we were, again, we stood around. I'm gonna pick on Io because he was so good in one area, and he won us the game with his big impact in it. We can't just rely on Kofi, and we can't have Io get 12 rebounds one night and get 2 or 3 the next. We can't be sometimes a sometime guy or a sometime team. And I don't mean that where I'm just picking on Io. It's everybody. And we've got to get more from Georgie. We've got to get more from Coleman. We've got to get more from DeMonte. We've got to get more from everybody. And in that area. And we're elite when we rebound because we can run. And we're elite when our guards rebound. We've got to get Trent getting back in and get more rebounds. And finishing plays, I know our numbers look like we're great, but when we don't rebound, that's a big sign for us.
And then we talked to Coleman before this. What'd you kind of see from him in the game on whenever that game was?
Yeah, he was aggressive. He kind of cut loose a little bit. I mean, he wasn't tentative in anything he did. Coleman's instincts are really, really good. They're DeMonte Williams-like in terms of what he can do on the defensive side. And he recovers because he's 6'10". His IQ is smart. He's going to be one of the best shooters in this league, before his career's over. He's an elite shooter. We saw him be able to, give a little pass fake and step into a 3 and make it. And we've been seeing that in practice, and I'm really excited about him down the stretch because he's really starting to play with an aggression that I like.
Thanks, Brad.
Coach, it seems that the keep Io from going right narrative has reemerged like after the Penn State game last year. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that and, what it's like if teams, try for that.
Good. That's, at least we know what's coming then. There hasn't been a whole lot of teams have a lot of success with that. I think they know how good he is going right, but you look at any of his numbers and analytics, he's just as effective going left. And, we flip screens and we do a lot of that. We clear space when they do that, knowing that. So it's an advantage for us when teams do that because we actually know how they're going to guard it then.
That's my only question. Thank you.
Hey, Brad. I remember about a decade ago that kids were mostly committing as sophomores and juniors. What's the impact, whether positively or challenge wise, of that on recruiting, that it's starting to get extended into spring and sometimes summer?
Yeah, for the short term, Jeremy, I don't think we'll see a ton of that. Simple fact that we can't have them on campuses. We can't have them at games. We don't have, one of the great things about bringing, young people on campus is you get to have a relationship with them. Now we're restricted on what kids we can talk to. And so we don't have those relationships, quite as early and quite as frequently as we have in terms of those interactions. But, I think I think it will move towards later. I think with the potential, what's coming with the transfer waivers and the NBA stuff and so on and so forth at this level, kids are going to wait to make decisions on where they go to school to see what rosters look like. So, I think there'll be some that will make decisions early that just fall in love with it. But, maybe not as sophomores and early in their junior years. I would say very few.
Obviously there's a benefit to them for that. Like what's the response as a coach? Do you have to be more patient, or do you have to push earlier for other kids? Like, how do you kind of handle that?
Yeah, that throws your stress level up really high. Especially going into an off season, because as much as you'd like to know, it was always great. Hey, we signed 3 in the fall and we're done and we know what our roster looks like. And now with all this transfer stuff, with the NBA stuff, with kids not signing, I mean, you could have 6, 7, 8 scholarships in the fall and not know anything about your roster. So, that's why I'm not a big fan of the transfer rule. But it's hopefully we're recruiting very, very high character kids who want to be a part of something very special and winning. And that's one of our targets in recruiting is finding those type kids.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, you obviously recovered in the second half, but I was curious if the 9 turnovers in the first half bother you in the sense that it's something you've seen and it needs to be nipped in the bud, or is it just so out of character that you don't know what's going on there?
No, it's casual. I mean, it's just we had 4 of them that were just ridiculous. We had Dre dribbled out of bounds. We tried to throw a pass to Kofi when the guy's sitting right behind him, and we didn't. We don't see him. It was just kind of we threw a pass to the side the defender's on, throwing it into the post. We threw a bounce pass on the perimeter that gets stolen. It was just a casual, again, lack of focus. Now, obviously much better the second half, with 3 or 4 turnovers, and you can live with those. But those 9 turnovers turn into pick sixes really because they end up in baskets at the other end, and that's you can't defend that.
My follow-up is on rebounding. I wanted to always ask you, I apologize if this is a dumb question, but it almost seems like a lot of your guys go and check somebody and a guard will come in and fly in and go get it so you can get on the break immediately. I've got to ask, is that something that's taught by you and your staff, or is that something that's just happening that because of how the game was flowing or whatnot?
No, we try to do that. We want our guards to rebound, and it's a lot of times it's very hard. It's not as easy as it sounds to hit a guy who's big and strong and close to the rim and try to drive him out and see a ball and it doesn't come off right to you and go chase that. Guys come from the perimeter and they have the ability to judge angles and go get balls. And again, that's why Io's elite at it. And DeMonte's very good at it. Jacob's very good at it. And we've just got to stay consistent. And more importantly, we've got to make a second effort. And sometimes we do get bumped and we can't give into that. And that's that was a big part of the other night. We had no second effort.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate it.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Coach. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. With Michigan coming off their pause, I can imagine that's a game that maybe you guys are excited to have on the schedule. Is there just a good opportunity there to play a team like that later on in the season now where you guys are reaching maybe the best basketball that you should be playing right now?
I have no idea how to answer that. It'd be unbelievable for our league. It'd be unbelievable for us. It's, 1 and 2 in the league. It's, 2 top 5 teams. And yet, you've got all kinds of issues out there it goes well beyond just the 2 schools trying to schedule that and fit that in. I mean, you got, 14 other teams. You've got them minus, I think they were minus 5 games that they missed with COVID. So they're trying to figure out what they're doing. So it's literally a crapshoot at this point in terms of what it'll look like. But again, Northwestern, and then we'll figure out what Wednesday looks like and what we have after that.
And how do you feel about your opportunity here with Northwestern? I know last time you guys played, you mentioned the second half was just a unique thing for you guys. Is this kind of a chance for maybe you guys to put 2 halves together against this team here?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I would love it if all games we played all halves like we did against them. But that's not the case. And Chris is a heck of a coach. They scheme as well as anybody in our league. So, they'll have something up their sleeve schematically. And they've got guys that, Adij will not play as bad as he did in the first game. He's a guy that they moved to the point. And Bowie's a guy that's had 30 in a game before. And like I said, you've got to do your job defensively or this team's very capable.
All right, thank you.
Brad, Coach,
Anyway, this is kind of follow up to Marley's first question. Now that everyone in the Big Ten is playing again, do you have a feeling for maybe when the rest of the postponed games will get on the schedule, or is that just going to happen?
The very short answer is no. I talk with Josh daily. Josh is in constant communication with the league office about it. They're running all kinds of scenarios because every team is back. But there's a lot of games out there that have been missed, and so you're still trying to figure out how to parlay that into a schedule that works and keeps everybody safe. And let's not forget that we've done this because of safety and health reasons that are COVID related. There's also safety and health risks at playing too frequently. Now we're all back in school. We all have academic concerns and rules, and each university has different sets of rules based on class attendance and being able to miss classes. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it well beyond just, okay, they missed, let's play.
And then say you get into a scenario where you've got 4 games in 8 or 9 days or whatever it might be, because who knows, but beyond the physical toll, what's the challenge of having maybe that compact schedule that it likely will be at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think, there's different factors involved based on whether you played them once, whether you haven't played them. Some of those scouts, when you have familiarity with the team, become a little easier. In Michigan's case, we haven't played. So I really haven't sat down and studied them. It's a quick turn. I was a big fan in the Big 12 of one-day preps. One-day preps are awesome because your kids are very focused. You don't have to spend a ton of time in practice. You can do it. And then usually on the back end, there was some rest. Now, in this case, maybe it's not there. But I think that the one-day prep thing was great as long as both teams were doing it. And that, I think, is another part of the challenge with all that is it just can't be us doing it because, then it becomes pretty hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Coach, sorry about that. Quick question, going back to what you mentioned earlier about the COVID. Have you or Josh Whitman heard anything from the NCAA as far as like the kids being tested or not tested, being vaccinated for COVID-19? Because I know the tournament's coming up. Last year, you guys missed, there was no NCAA tournament, but there's talk about college athletes being able to get the vaccine so that way the tournament can go off.
To this point, Ked, no, we have not heard anything. We have our coaching staff was very fortunate that we've had round 1. We got in as educators. Our athletes have not fallen into any of those categories yet. And I'm speaking specifically for Illinois. I'm not speaking nationally or anything else, but all the state regional health organizations are the ones that dictate those rules. But our staff has had it, but the first round. But our players have not, and I have not heard anything to this point about anything mandated from the NCAA or the league about the vaccines.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Coach, I know you love to dive into the numbers and the advanced analytics and stuff. I was doing it last night because I was bored. I was taken aback by how much your 2018 team is different in terms of turnover rate and overall defense, and where this year's team ranks in each of those categories and how different it is. I know you've spoken on this in the past, but what was the transition like for you and your coaching staff and your players to get to this point of being a top 20 defensive team in the country?
It was probably much easier for my players than it was for me. And again, it's something I've had a lot of success with. So it was more of a challenge from the standpoint that, there's certain games, even this year, there's been certain games that, teams don't have great point guards, and that if you're going to heat them up and press them and not allow them to run offense and this and that, hey, you're going to win. You're going to win. And from a scouting standpoint, you knew there were certain actions that they couldn't run because they were easy to take away. That part of it's different. You know, for our players, it's I don't want to say it's more conservative. There's still a lot of involvement, but it's kept us out of rotation. It's kept us off the foul line. It's kept us out of, in most cases, better rebounding positions. And those were all the big factors that led to that. On the other end, we don't turn teams over as frequently, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. You know, our motto's been 40 minutes of hard contested shots and limit them to one shot. And if we do that, most nights we got a chance.
And then how much has Kofi helped you in this transition to this newer, I don't want to necessarily call it a complete pack line defense, but this newer defense that you're running as a rim protector like he is?
Well, we had decisions to make when we signed Kofi, you know, knowing that, you know, he was going to see 50 to 60 ball screens a night. And, you know, his growth in that area has been huge, but his ability early shocked me, you know, because he stayed out of foul trouble for the most part, you know, and that's not easy to do when you're in a lot of action and a lot's required of you. It's also like being a quarterback on the court. When you're in a ball screen coverage, you have to make the call. And you have to be very, very vocal. And a lot of guys don't want to do that. And Kofi's handled that great. Georgie's elite at it. Georgie never misses a call. Very, very seldom. And he might miss the coverage or make a mistake after, but the call is never wrong. And so it's Kofi was a big part of it. And we had to figure out what worked and what he could and couldn't do, and then what kept him on the floor. But I don't want to say it was the driving force of it, but it was impactful.
Coach, quickly, I had heard Dave Gavitt on CBS this past weekend talk about conference tournaments, and I think the phrase he used was highly encouraged teams, conferences, and to have them. I was wondering where you sit on that, because I'm looking at it, I guess, from the devil's advocate perspective, from like a Baylor or an Illinois or Ohio State or Michigan, and I go, you know, that tournament the following week's a little bit more important. I don't know why we're doing this.
We're going to play ours.
Okay.
So as far as I know, until somebody tells me different, I understand exactly what you're saying. We all wrestle with it. I think everybody in this time frame wants to make sure that if you feel like you have a chance and a chance to make a deep run, you just want to go be healthy, and you want to be as fresh as you can be. And you know, that's my angle at this is, you know, you don't want to get stuck playing 3 or 4 games in the last week of the season, and then all of a sudden you rush off to Indy and have potential 3 games, and then you're exhausted, because there's no easy night in this league. And so, you know, we're going to play it, and we're going to, as long as we're in it, we're going to try to win every game and do the best we can. But yeah, we've got to make sure that our conference has teams who are capable of winning a national championship. And I don't know, we may have 5, 6, 7 teams capable of winning. I don't know. We got to make sure at the end of the day that we have the best opportunity and present the best opportunity for our league to do that for one of those teams.
Quickly, Brad, my question was more along the lines of like COVID and safety protocol of like, I don't want to lose an Io DeSumo because we just played in a conference tournament and now we've got positive tests. Like,
absolutely. Okay. I think that's everybody's concern. We're talking about the same thing. I just put it a little different. You don't want to, you know, it's going to be very, everything we've got to this point, it's going to be very, very, you're going to be very disciplined. You're not going to be allowed to leave the hotel. You're going to have 1 person per room. You're not going to be able to leave your room. I'm not going to be able to go on my walks. You got to eat all your meals in. You don't leave to go anywhere but to practice and to the facility to play. And it's going to be very structured that way to try to avoid that. But you literally have all the people in the hotel that you got to be concerned about. And that's one of the big challenges is, you know, man, how sick would it be if somebody gets it and has to sit out 17 days? because we chose to play a conference tournament.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, it's time for our practice. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.